Hi, my name's Annika Hurwitt. I was introduced to the principles in 1993, and what my life was like at that time, I was a pretty good example of what Sid Banks described as how we're all schizophrenic. I would say I was a very good example of that because I was very busy-minded. I had a lot of stress and anxiety, but I was very involved with meditation. So I would meditate and get calm, and then I'd be back in my anxiety and stress. And then usually I'd meditate again or go for a walk in nature and calm down, and then my stress would return. And this had been going on for a long time, and it was frustrating and a lot of work. And the first insight that I remember having after being introduced to the principles was being out on a walk and suddenly seeing myself thinking in ways that were creating the stress. It was like I had a flash where I realized insightfully that I was, you could say, squeezing my thoughts or worrying my thoughts. And when I saw that, my mind let go immediately into what I've come to learn is our natural state, which is calm and mental presence. And the insight that came along with that one was that when my mind is in calm and mental presence and in a more receptive mode, I have more access to my universal mind. And rather than trying to control everything and analyze everything, that when I go through life the way I used to meditate, which is with a calm and open mind, I have access to wisdom and insight on a moment by moment go forward basis, which changed everything because I started being happier, having more fun, but also being smarter because I was accessing common sense and wisdom much more of the time. So I would say that my life changed dramatically. I no longer felt the need to meditate. I might choose to sometimes. But really, the next thing that happened was that I got very quiet inside and found myself incapable of reading or taking courses for a very long time. And that's because I was introduced to these principles when I was 40, and I came from a very academic family and background, and I had so much information in my brain. And when I learned this, there was a cry from my soul to stop. All I wanted to do was let the information settle so that there could be space for my wisdom. And this hunger developed in me to have as much access to my common senses and wisdom as I possibly could. And that went on for years, not really wanting anything to do with information, because what was coming into me was so beautiful and so soul nourishing and so life changing, and so precious, that I just wanted to make as much space for it as I possibly could. So my life became happier. I became happier. My friendships improved. I started sleeping well. I guess you could say I went from someone that a man I was dating once described as a high maintenance babe to now the feedback I often get from people is that it raises their spirits to be around me. So how will this change mental health? and understanding the human spirit. I mean, I work with people who struggle with anxiety and depression and stress and busy-mindedness, as well as coaching a lot of leaders. And I mean, the ways that this will change mental health and the understanding of the human spirit are so infinite. It brings to mind something that happened yesterday. I was talking to my cousin, and she's not learned these principles directly, but she tends to get caught up a lot in anger and doesn't really know how to navigate that in relationships. And I just said to her what I've heard Sid say so many times, which is that the nature of life is love, and that you know, when we reach for love and understanding in our relationships, we feel better because anger makes you feel bad, and you're able to understand the person that you're interacting with and maybe come to a resolution. And it was a risk for me to have that conversation with her. She's not a particularly educated person, not a particularly spiritual person, but I just took a leap of faith. And she called me back the next day and said that I was a miracle worker, that it had changed her profoundly. And the reason that I mention this is because what Sid talks about is universal. It doesn't matter who you're speaking with. When you speak universal truth, it resonates with people. And the nature of life is love. And we as human beings are made of love. And when you can teach that through principles rather than through dogma, it becomes very, reachable for people. And of course, that's going to change everything. It already has changed so much. People struggling with mental health issues get better, which is awesome. But it has the potential, of course, to change the world.